Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to an episode of my F1 2021 My Team Career Mode, episode number 7 today for the Austrian Grand Prix in Season 1. If you guys did miss the previous episode, then be sure to go check the one out before you see this one. That was a cracking episode at France, a surprising result, to be honest, because for a lot of it, we were fighting tooth and nail for no points, really, just position and kind of pride with Yuki Tsunoda and Fernando Alonso once again, and then, spoiler alert, in the end of it, we had a little bit of luck. You got to have some luck and rub of the green sometimes, especially when you're a lower down team where you don't have the outright pace, and we're able to come through for some more points, or a point in the season. We got 1 point, which was actually half of what we already had anyway in the championship, so we have 3 points to our name. It's still very early days, clearly, and we're still not exactly where we want to be. You know, at the end of Season 1, I'm hoping we can be right kind of in the middle of the midfield fight with, you know, firmly with AlphaTauri and Alpine on the R&D, and things like this may go a long way to help that. So following the engine issue that we also had at France, a lot of stuff happened last episode, basically. Midway through that race, we had an issue where our engine lost power, was stuck on lean mixture. Following that, our team have looked at it, and we've gained 400 resource points from, you know, dissecting that issue and hopefully trying to put that towards improvements wherever it may be, basically. So we have some extra R&D points there to work with, and following France, we finally saved up enough money to actually go ahead and purchase a brand new HQ facility upgrade on the chassis side of things for the fabrication. So we're now one HQ facility upgrade away from matching the aero department with our chassis department, just the resource generation on the bottom to kind of do, and I think we will do that since obviously we've got restricted R&D due to the custom career settings, so it actually may be worth doing it. And something else worth doing is purchasing this ignition system upgrade to the engine power. You guys will actually let me know in the comments below. I never actually saw it. I've somehow accumulated 100% of a discount on that, so I have to spend 0 R&D points for that. That'll come in, unfortunately, after the British Grand Prix, our home race next episode, which is a bit of a shame, but that's my fault. I missed it. Apparently, it's been there for like at least an episode or 2, basically. But thanks to you guys, we have now purchased that for 0 R&D, and we continue on because we've got 1,800 just over to play with on the R&D side of things. So we're going to go ahead and purchase a weight reduction, a minor upgrade that is. So that's only 500 with a discount, or 400, I think that may have been. And then we've got a 541, which I wanted to do there on the tyre wear, but I've actually reached my department limitation on that, so I can't actually purchase that at the same time because we've already got too many parts on the chassis side of things. So we're going to have to wait a little bit longer to maybe do that, but we do have, as we move on through the activity timeline, our rear downforce upgrade coming in. We're going to now purchase the front downforce one. You may remember in the last episode we only had the ability to buy one of those, so the rear downforce has come in. Bit of an imbalance on the downforce, that means, but hopefully it won't be too bad on Austrian. That's going to now come in the next episode or 2, the front downforce, I mean, and then also the engine power as well. And another upgrade that came in was the durability there on the internal combustion engine. So hopefully that'll help us out, because of course we've had some major issues with wear. I think a bit of it to do with quick practice, to be honest, and I really hope Cody's can look into it and rebalance it. But we go ahead and purchase another durability upgrade. Who the hell am I? Me purchasing this many durability upgrades in Season 1 of a My Team career. But we go for a turbocharger upgrade because that was only like just under 300 R&D points, so it wasn't really that much, and we still have 500 basically left over. But basically now I've got too many points for what I can actually do, because I don't actually have the ability to do too many simultaneous upgrades on any of these departments. So at the moment, actually able to save some R&D, and we're kind of maybe waiting for the ability for us to maybe purchase, you know, maybe get enough money to get, you know, more fabrication so we can actually do those extra simultaneous upgrades. So, you know, Season 1, it's very much a case of there are certain bottlenecks that you're going to hit either with R&D or money, and it's a case of trying our best to just kind of iron those things out and set our team up for the future, you know, in future seasons 2 and 3, obviously, where we're trying to make this step up to the top of the midfield and then bridging the gap and then to the, you know, championship fight, obviously, as we hope to maybe do, you know, within the next, you know, 2-3 seasons. But, you know, this season is a building season, and clearly our castle has a long way to go, and these are the foundational blocks where we're going to look back at it and probably, you know, it's going to feel so silly to be so arbitrary about such little things like this, because, you know, give it a season or 2, we'll be able to buy whatever we want, basically, in terms of, as long as we can afford it, we won't have that bottleneck of, oh, we can't do enough simultaneous upgrades, because by then, hopefully our HQ will be at that point where we can do 2 to 3 simultaneous ones. But we go through quick practice as per usual now on this new game, the mini game there, and try and do the best job we can. I actually got quite lucky with the FP1 mini game, because I kind of got everything going my way. Everything came through with the kind of even the 50% chance practice programs and whatnot, and we moved swiftly on then into qualifying then here at the Austrian Grand Prix Saturday. It's a very, very sunny day here, and I say that because there is some forecast and potential maybe for some rain on Sunday. On this year's game, I've noticed they've done really well. You know, they've got that setting now in the game where you can either put on a truly accurate weather indicator or a predicted one, which is a bit more realistic, because in real life, obviously, you can't completely predict the weather. And on this year's game, they've made it a lot more, you really can't tell sometimes, because they give you a percentage chance of rain, and it varies basically from hour to hour, like minute to minute, basically in the 10-minute chunks that it shows you about the session. So it's difficult to really tell when and how much rain is going to come on Sunday, for example. But you know, we'll just deal with it as it comes. But right now, just trying to do the best job we can over one lap. The first lap wasn't that great, I'm not going to lie. Just trying to settle back in. This was actually the first time I was back on the game for about 2-3 days, because I actually took time out to go to the British Grand Prix at Silverstone in real life on Friday and Saturday. So the last couple episodes you've been seeing were schedule uploaded. So it's been a little bit since I've been back on the game, and because it's a fresh game, if you take time out of it, you're going to kind of have to settle back into the groove then. But on the second lap, that was a lot better. We really got an insane line through the end of Sector 1 into 2, kind of almost drifting the car through, which kind of helped us kick out the back end a bit, as the handling's a little bit more slidey on this year's game, and that gained us quite a fair bit of time, and so much so that it was going to be difficult to replicate that on any other laps. And we're only in P18 at the moment, and we're actually behind our teammate Callum Ilott. So for the first time this season, and at Austria of all places, where I feel like I've always gone quite well, especially on F1 2020, I never really had a major issue with going up against the AI. I felt I had a pretty good margin usually against my teammates on F1 2020 around this circuit, the Red Bull Ring. But here we are, and we've hardly improved on the third time there, and we have been out-qualified for the first time then by our F2 teammate, fresh on the game, first season, Callum Ilott, with, you know, not much boosting, of course, because we've got no personnel upgrades on the HQ facility. So this is, well, a little bit embarrassing, and maybe just shows if you miss, all, you know, 1 or 2 days of the game and kind of full out of practice with the new handling model and whatnot, you're going to pay for it. So we're going to have to try and maybe hopefully recuperate a little bit in the race. I know the race pace is always usually better. I'm never a great qualifier, to be honest, on the F1 games. Not my kind of thing. But, you know, from P21, second last place, last row of the grid. But to be fair, it looks like others, you know, Russell struggled. He didn't make it through into Q2. He's been a staple of making it through to Q2, or at least being just out of it in Q1 so far. So all round, maybe some surprising results there in terms of our little fight here at the back of the grid. But Sunday is a different day, so let's see what we can do. And with some rain maybe on the way, that's going to be a whole other spanner in the works. Let's go to the grid.
This is it then, race day in Spielberg for this year's Austrian Grand Prix. Not long to go before our drivers hurtle off the line and into the first turn, the Niki Lauda curve, as it was renamed in 2019 in memory of one of Formula One's most beloved figures. The Spielberg circuit then is situated 700 metres above sea level, with just 10 corners making up one of the shortest laps of the season. One time around here is a distance of 2.6 miles, with the best overtaking chances into turn 1 or the tight uphill turn 3. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you with us here today. But I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
But from the moment qualifying's over, you start to feel the adrenaline in your body build up and the buzz in your stomach as you anticipate the run down into turn 1. It's all a bit like going into battle, and the unknown situation makes you nervous. Those pre-race nerves are a good thing. The day you don't have them means that you don't care anymore. And of course, you have to make sure that all the procedures are second nature to you, so that they're not taking up too much of your capacity.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Ricciardo, Sergio Perez, and Norris, Leclerc, Sainz, Vettel, and Pierre Gasly, Fernando Alonso, Stroll, Esteban Ocon, and Tsunoda, Raikkonen, Giovinazzi, Nikita Mazepin, and Mick Schumacher, Eilert, Russell, the owner driver, and Nicholas Latifi. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
So, from the last row of this grid, a little bit out of practice with the game now, we're going to have to try and channel, well, the very man that we've been fighting a lot in the last 2 episodes, Fernando Alonso. His cracking start at the F1 Sprint yesterday in real life for the British Grand Prix. Cracking start there. We need to try and channel some of that energy. We need to have an absolute blistering start, try and carve our way through some cars like a hot knife through butter at this one to try and put ourselves in a good place to then go on to try and see what we can do properly, because, you know, well and truly, I don't think this is our true pace, and Austria is a place I like on the F1 game, especially on the previous one. I really did enjoy it, and we've got some rain for sure on the way later. It looks like in the second half then, so that will be juicy, because that will maybe open ourselves to gamble a little bit, maybe with some strategy play as well. I don't know if Jeff wants to let us know when the rain's coming midway through the race. We can try something clever maybe, but first and foremost, lap 1, we need to be on full send. So let's do this thing, the Austrian Grand Prix. We go to 5 red lights. Points last time out, maybe a bit difficult from the last row of the grid this time, but 4 lights are out and we're underway at the Red Bull Ring, and it is a great start for Latifi. Ilott bogs down a little bit along with the Alfa Romeo on the inside there. I think that was actually the Haas of Schumacher. He's dived down the inside. It was 3 abreast between Schumacher, Raikkonen and Ocon, and we've actually carved our way through into P16 round the outside of turn 1. Usually a little bit of an iffy place to be, but it's worked for us where we dive down the inside, but Ocon goes for the even bigger dive. Ocon does what I wanted to do basically, and Ocon shoots up into P11. What a cracking start from the Frenchman there. We do find ourselves once again, how about this, in between Fernando Alonso and Yuki Tsunoda, and we go around the outside. Tsunoda dive bomb Stroll. Everyone is absolutely sending it. Everyone heard me and decided to do what I was just meant to be doing, but Tsunoda with the big dive was 3 wide then into that next right-hander down the hill. Instead, I couldn't actually make an overtake because I was going to be pushed off the circuit, so instead we have to wait till lap number 2. Tsunoda is there chasing after on Stroll. I have to kind of hold back a little bit. I had a little half thought of dive bombing there, but it just wasn't going to work out. Yuki would have turned in on us, but now we've got the overspeed here, using all the amount of ERS we can. Big dive down the inside, drift the car through, lock up, try and slow it down, and no contact made in the end of it, and we're able to get the move done. Bit aggressive, but needing to be, and we're up into P13. This is a bit more like it. We now move on. Lap number 5, so we're settled in now into this Grand Prix, and I think you'll agree with me, that has been a stonking effort. I think 21st place to 13 in 5 laps, or really, if we think about it, 3 laps there. But it wasn't just me, of course. Esteban Ocon here, you can see he's fighting Stroll, and Stroll unable to overtake him, despite Ocon being on the medium compounder tyre, the slower tyre. He's able to defend, but Ocon had an even better one than I did over that huge dive on lap 1. But yeah, it just came to us, you know, we were in the right places, people were kind of tripping up over each other, and just like Stroll and Ocon might be here, because hang on, lap number 6, can we get a double overtake maybe done? We go to the inside of Ocon and continue to send it through. We're drifting through the next right-hander down the hill, and Stroll's gone too wide. He got on the curb and then unsettles the car. Of course, with this year's game, the handling is so much more sensitive on these curbs, even for the AI, you've got to remember. And so Stroll goes just a bit too deep there, and we get 2 for 1. We are flying high here. We're going to get a nosebleed at this rate. P11 here in this car. That qualified on the last row of the grid, but Stroll comes back at us with the soft compound on his car. He's got the speed. Tsunoda's past Ocon, so Ocon well and truly falling away. We defend against Tsunoda, and Tsunoda! Tsunoda's pinned it in the wall. I think he lost the back end with DRS. Let's look at a replay there. I just thought we went for a defensive move to the inside, thought nothing of it, but behind us, the drama, as well, from that angle, looks like Tsunoda just drove simply into the left-hand wall there, but I'm sure it must be because the rear end stepped, because he tried to move so quickly, I think, with the DRS open. Look at this. Yeah, that's definitely it. His DRS was open, of course, because he is within 1 second of me. I go to the inside to defend, very much before the brake zone, so I don't feel it's moving under braking. It was a quite aggressive move, but it is before we started both braking. But because it was before we started braking, Tsunoda's obviously still got his DRS wide open, so when he jinks to the left, the car just swerves and he smacks the wall. That's why I always disengage DRS sometimes when I'm trying to make a very darting, aggressive move. And the full course safety car is out because of that collision of the AlphaTauri into the wall, and so we're going to come in then off these soft compounded tyres. It was looking like an aggressive 2-stop strategy, you know, soft to 2 mediums on this one, but now with the early safety car and the rain, forecast for later, I am going to switch it up. I'm going to go onto hard tyres, and the plan, well, my hopeful plan, is to go all the way to the wet period, and I really hope the wet period comes just after everyone else makes their second stop, because look at the people around me on the top left. Medium tyres, soft tyres. Looks like everyone's still committed to the 2-stop, whereas I've moved on to a 1-stop. So I need to pray the F1 gods pay me dividends here with the rain coming just after that second stop that everyone makes. But at the moment, Fernando Alonso is the one that leads the race because he is yet to pit. He started on medium tyres and he's still going. Bottas in second place, Ricciardo in third ahead of Verstappen, but we're here in P13 looking at the back of Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari. As we go a little bit wider on the restarts, my hard compound tyres obviously take a little bit more time to heat up. We've got a bit of a bottleneck up the road with Raikkonen at the head of the train there, and it's so much so that by the next lap then, on to lap 12, look at this, he's holding on Perez and Sainz there. Lando and Gasly have already got past, but we're using Raikkonen to help us overtake Carlos Sainz. Round the outside we go of the Spaniard, and Raikkonen then so slow. He's been on those soft tyres since the beginning of the Grand Prix. I don't know why he didn't pit under the safety car, but we squeeze him through. Perez is slow though, and we're going to absolutely send it on Sergio like we did at Baku, and getting some confidence there from Azerbaijan. You may remember we dive bomb Perez then when he had a car issue. Well, for whatever reason, Perez was just looking very slow and very vulnerable there, so we just went for it, and it's worked out for us. So we're now ahead of a Red Bull car on a hard compound tyre. I don't know how that's actually happening, but he's going to pressurise, of course, so we continue to push on to defend. Up the road though, Sebastian Vettel with an engine failure, so 1-3 position, and there's been a crash with Sebastian Vettel, and Raikkonen's hit the back of Vettel. Vettel retiring out this Grand Prix with an engine failure. It's all kicked off. Vettel retires off on the left, but Raikkonen and someone else, I'm pretty sure, knocked into the back of Sebastian Vettel. That could have been a lot worse than it was. That well and truly could have been a 5-car pileup, but it was just 2 cars involved. The others avoided the incident, but a second safety car in this race being called out. Alonso now pits under this second safety car, so we gain 1 more position. So we find ourselves right now up in P8 then, still ahead of the likes of Sergio Perez, Stroll, Giovinazzi behind us in the Alfa Romeo, and ahead of us we've got Gasly, Norris, Hamilton. And as we go on the restart of this second safety car, the rain is starting to fall, but it's lap 16. It's still not time for that second pit stop yet for the 2-stoppers. So is the rain coming down too early? Has my gamble to go on hard not really paid off too much? Let's see, but at the moment we're concentrating on the car behind us, Lance Stroll. Lap 17 this is, defending against him. You can see the other guys have way too much pace, and to be honest, Stroll does, but because he's behind me, I'm just doing as much as I can to be annoying and trying to defend as much as I can using ERS tactically. And in the wet, when it starts raining, you actually use a little bit less ERS every single point of the lap basically, so there's more to deploy on the straights. But what's helping me out is behind me there's actually a ding-dong matter going on. It's 3 wide then on lap 21, a couple laps later, between Stroll, Giovinazzi and Fernando Alonso, and this is a great scrap. And Alonso trying to go around the outside. He's on the soft compound, so he's trying to overtake these two on slower tyres. Giovinazzi, though, having a great scrap with Stroll, and Alonso has to sit back and watch, and behind him is Sergio Perez. So at the moment, we're still running P8, and we're ahead of a Ferrari, a Red Bull. Really doing well, but look at Callum Ilott. He's not doing too badly as well. P15, no, not amazing, but compared to where he was and has been in the season, Callum Ilott also doing really well in these tricky, damp conditions. And someone who's also doing very well in these conditions is Daniel Ricciardo in the McLaren. I mean, both McLarens are looking strong here, but this is Valtteri Bottas. He's in the lead, but look at this. Daniel Ricciardo, he's going for the move. He's going for the race lead. In the damp conditions, we're all still on dry tyres, but the rain is falling here at the Red Bull Ring, and Daniel Ricciardo is in his element here and feeling himself for sure as he's up into first place in the McLaren. But look at Lando Norris also on the ladder there. He's overtaken Lewis Hamilton. He's up into P4. He was P5 earlier. So both McLarens have come alive in this race in the damp conditions. Ricciardo leads the way. Norris in P4 ahead. Both McLarens ahead of each Mercedes car. Verstappen now chasing after Bottas. So I think the Mercs are imploding. What's happened to their pace in these damp conditions? And now we move back to our POV. Lap 23 then. And I think it's time to come in. My engineers do as well, I think, there as well. as they came in for a change of strategy. So we're all going to come in. I think Stroll and Perez may join me. Gasly's in, but the others, the top 6, they've continued for one more lap. So is there half a chance to gain an advantage on any of those guys? My plan has not worked though. You know, none of these guys have made a second stop for their dry tyre. So the gamble onto hard, I don't know. I mean, I guess for me, the tyre wear hasn't been as bad on the hard compound tyre, so maybe that's allowed me to defend and stay ahead of the likes of Stroll, Gio, Perez, Sainz, for example. I don't know. But, you know, we tried it, and it didn't exactly work how I wanted it to. But DRS is disabled now on lap 24. We're onto intermediate tyres, very much needed. But you can see up ahead of us, Gasly pit onto a set of mediums. He's had a stinker. So Gasly's going to have to come back in once again for an extra stop. So I actually did jump Gasly then with that strategy call. But now onto lap 27, everyone's finally made their pit stop onto Inters, and Ricciardo is still your race leader. Bottas in second, Verstappen third, Leclerc in P4 now ahead of Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton, and Hamilton chasing after Lando Norris now and trying to get back that position, but Hamilton went long on his pit stop, so he actually lost time, and Leclerc jumped those guys. We're in P7 now, so we've gained that free position on Gasly because he's down to P12, so we went from P8 to P7 with that jump on the Frenchman, and now we've got Sergio Perez and Stroll for company. And pretty much, I'm not going to lie to you, a mundane end to the Grand Prix. 10 laps on Inters, basically just holding my P7 position because we've done amazing to just be here. Remember, we were 21st, second last place on the grid, up to P13 by the first 3 laps. And then, since then, the 2 safety cars, some chaos, people tripping over one another, people pitting at the wrong time, i.e. Gasly, Alonso, and others just crashing out the Grand Prix like Sebastian Vettel, Raikkonen, Ocon, those guys going backwards. It's allowed us to come through the P7 in this race, but the top story's not even that. It's the fact that Daniel Ricciardo has won the Austrian Grand Prix in a McLaren, and it's Ricciardo's the one who's won it, not Lando Norris. What on earth did Ricciardo eat this morning for his breakfast? But going back to us though, because yeah, that's them, that's the AI for us. P7, massive, our best result to date. It's our third time only. We've scored points. Mega stuff.
Anthony, tell me, what was it that helped them achieve this success?
It's a heroic effort for any driver to race in conditions like these, and seeing them fight their way to the front was very special indeed. They were able to find all the grip, all the good lines, and had the confidence to get on the power to top it all off. That's what pushed them into first place here today.
Our winning drivers are on their way to the podium right now. It's been a fantastic race for McLaren, that's for sure, and no doubt they'll be celebrating tonight.
Well, what a mad podium. Daniel Ricciardo wins the Austrian Grand Prix. Both McLarens came alive, and both McLarens, I think, maybe beat their respective Mercedes cars. I think maybe Hamilton did get Lando actually at the end of the race, but Ricciardo overtakes Bottas on track, I might add, so it wasn't even strategy gambling. McLaren just had the pace. Ricciardo had the pace, and he just overtook Valtteri on track to get that P1, and Verstappen comes home in third place on the last step of the podium. Leclerc jumped Lando and Hamilton up into P4, and we jumped a load of people in that race, including Gasly late on with that extra pit stop he made to elevate us from what we were in P8 to P7, so 6 points on the board. We're up into P12 in the championship ahead of Lance Stroll and Ocon, which I think is pretty good because Lance Stroll, the Aston Martin's been in some pretty good positions. I mean, Vettel's on 25 points, so I think we've done really well to be ahead of Stroll, and then also Ocon as well. Still some ways off Alpine, but we're building momentum now. 23 points, we're on 9. That's doable. And AlphaTauri 30, and Aston Martin 34 even. I think honestly P5 is still something we could get if we upgrade enough in this kind of middle phase of the season, the European heart of the European season. But it needs to begin kind of now. We've been quite slow, but now you're seeing we're slowly starting to build resource points. This episode we had 500 just saved up in the bank that I didn't even spend. So we're getting to that point now where we're getting accumulatively, R&D and money to actually start, doing this rapid upgrading we need to be doing to actually fully fight in the midfield at the end of this season and maybe get some higher positions in the championship and not just look behind us and Alfa Romeo, Haas, and Williams. But what a race in general for the result with the AI, for Ricciardo's win, 2 safety cars in that, some rain involved, and for us from the last row of the grid to points. Maybe we need to qualify lower more often, maybe, huh? But if you guys did enjoy that one, be sure to smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.